So did you hear Diddy? Free Diddy movement. But Diddy, according to CNN, Sean Diddy Combs will be sentenced in a hearing set to be held on October 3rd after he was found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Watch this from ABC News.
Okay, Sean Combs is going to be sentenced this fall after he was convicted of 2 counts of prostitution-related charges that together carry a maximum prison term of up to 20 years. He is unlikely to get that much, but federal prosecutors are expected to ask for at least 5 years. Combs will receive credit for time served, which will subtract about a year from the ultimate sentence. His acquittal on sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges took away the possibility of life in prison for Combs, who's preparing to ask for leniency. The defense has already argued Combs has taken steps to address what the judge called a propensity for violence, as seen on 2016 hotel security camera footage. And his attorney said Combs began a batterers program in New York prior to his arrest. The defense has also argued Combs did not make money from prostitution, but rather was the primary client of the male escorts he was convicted of transporting. His attorneys were prepared to ask for an expedited sentencing. They backed off that at the last minute, and so the judge has set Sean Combs' sentencing for October 3rd.
Amazing. Is prostitution illegal in America?
In many states, yes. Overall, I think it is. I feel like either Las Vegas or Nevada at large, it's legal.
But look like places like California and New York and other places, and look like it would not be illegal. Everything else is illegal, not illegal.
Right. I mean,
crime is not even illegal in those states.
Indeed. They kind of look the other way, and they act like the prostitutes are victims.
I know. Prostitutes are prostitutes because they want to prostitute. They want money.
Indeed.
But man, we'll see what happens. Combs might, and I don't know, I have no proof, might end up walking free on this. We'll see. But it's interesting. And you think that's interesting. According to, this is from KGWA, former Portland trailblazer Ben McLemore took the stand on Thursday in his own defense, testifying that sexual encounter during 2021 house party was consensual. Watch this.
Was there any point along the way that you thought
Former trailblazer Ben McLemore took the stand in his defense on Thursday, telling his version of what happened at a house party where he was accused of raping a woman after a night of drinking. McLemore says the evening began with bowling before team members met at Robert Covington's Lake Oswego home for cards and drinking.
But I was just, just being there and just enjoying the night and just, having that time with my teammates and stuff.
McLemore testified he encountered the alleged victim in the bathroom after some of her friends asked him to help move her to the couch because she was intoxicated. McLemore said he eventually fell asleep on that same couch and then woke up a few hours later with that woman's hands down his pants.
Fondling me and basically arousing me. So that's what pretty much woke me up. I'm in deep sleep.
That's when McLemore says he began having sex with a woman, an encounter he describes as consensual.
She didn't show no signs of distress or discomfort.
McLemore says that he and the alleged victim never spoke with each other before, during, or after the encounter, and he left Covington's house immediately after they had sex.
Amazing, huh? Very interesting. A jury found McLemore guilty on 3 felony counts, and he faces over 8 years in prison. This is from KGW News.
Guilty of the charge.
Former Portland trailblazer Ben McLemore showed little emotion after a Clackamas County jury found him guilty of rape following a 2.5-week trial. The jury convicted him on 3 counts: first-degree rape, first-degree sexual penetration, and second-degree sexual abuse. Prosecutor Scott Healy.
You just don't do something like this to somebody and get away with it. I don't care who you are.
During trial, the woman testified she was incapacitated after a night of heavy drinking and unable to consent. McLemore admitted he'd been drinking as well, but testified the sex was consensual. The prosecutor described the victim as brave for coming forward, reporting the crime, and then following the long road to justice.
Crime victims don't often report these cases.
Following the verdict, sheriff deputies took McLemore into custody. The former trailblazer, who once wore number 23 on the court, now has a new number. Ben McLemore is inmate 273-47953 in the Clackamas County Jail.
Amazing. One amongst many of the greatest mistakes that this country has ever done, and I'm sure most people already seen this, is to believe the woman. I remember when they started pushing that idea, just believe the woman. Just because she said it, don't question her about it. They say to believe the woman. And men have been destroyed. I don't know anything about this case. I don't know about this situation, but men have been destroyed over the last 20 years, 30 years as a result of believing the woman like I've never seen before. And again, I don't know about this situation, but 99% of the time the woman is lying. But because you got to believe her just because she said it, men are suffering. And so if this guy was drinking and this female was drinking, the female said she couldn't consent to it. How come the male couldn't consent to it? They both were drinking according to the story. But just because she said it, if this doesn't change, it's only going to get worse. And the reason for it is not just because she said it, believe her. I remember when we reported on stories gone by where a lot of college guys were being accused by college girls, and come to find out it was made up. But, and then you hear it a lot in the courts where these females taking the men's children, taking the man's children away from him. And not all, but most. I remember Rolling Stone had to retract its story about a rape on campus. This was back in 2014, according to Wikipedia. But what you don't know that, and I've said this before, the deeper thing that's happening behind just these women lying on these people. When she's crying, she's lying. But there is this order to life, and most people don't know that the God above is the man's God, and the God below is the woman's God. Until if she should overcome by forgiving and returning to her Father above, right? That can happen, ladies. And the God below hate the God above. And as a result, he hates the sons of God. And men are sons of God. Most of them are just beta sons, but they're just a weak son of God. And women are daughters of Satan. And whether they realize it or not, Satan is controlling them. And Satan hates the sons of God, the beta one and the so-called alpha ones. And they work through the female to destroy the sons of God. Started with the mother. The mother, evil is working through the mothers to destroy the sons, turning them away from their fathers, imposing their will on the sons, spoiling them, dominating them, being angry at them. But the women don't realize they're being used by evil to destroy anything that resembles God. Anything. And they are destroying men because of that. That is the primary reason. Now, if you are blind to that, you'll make up other reasons. You'll make up it. Look how mothers lie on fathers to the children of the father, the men, the boys, and the girls, the sons and daughters of the father. This is a spiritual battle that's happening. And as long as they can do this to boys and men, it's going to only get worse. Look what they have done to the men and the boys. You can hardly find men working nowadays because they're giving the jobs to the women. Not that the women are earning the jobs, but because they pretend to be victims, they're just giving them the job. Reporters, newscasters, weather reporters, building, plumbing, all kinds of things that should go to men are going to females. And they are doing this without realizing that they're working on the side of evil to destroy men. It doesn't make logical sense that a woman can just say, well, I was at the same party, but I was intoxicated and I couldn't make a decision. And so he raped me. What sense does that make? And again, I don't know about this story, but I've heard this over and over again. It doesn't make sense that a female, because she hates the father, she destroys the children. And work desperately to keep the children, boys and girls, from the fathers. And the courts support it. And the court know they're lying. And yet they go with the woman. Evil. It's not a joke, folks. And the world is falling apart as a result of men being destroyed. And the interesting thing about it is that men don't even fight back. Even in my fallen state, I still knew to fight a little bit, to try to overcome emotions, because I knew emotions were bad. I didn't know how to overcome them at the time. I knew fear was bad, but at the time I didn't know how to overcome, but I was looking for an answer. Men don't even fight back. And they think that, well, if the women let them be a man, then they can be one. Or if the court let you be a man, then you can be one. How sad is that, huh? The spiritual battle is against men because men are sons of God. Yes, they have been turned away from the fathers, God, by their mothers and grandmothers in some cases, but they're still sons. They just haven't found their way back home yet, but they're still sons. This is not a joke that this is happening to men. I want you to, if you haven't paid attention, men and women, pay attention. When the last time you seen a bunch of men at work? Just a bunch of men everywhere at work. When the last time you seen the so-called experts on TV? Most of them are men. Even when they need doctors, it's always female doctors. Once in a while, you may see a male doctor, but female doctors, female experts. And this happening on conservative networks, so-called Christian networks, and everywhere. The Christian women, so-called godly women, Bible-teaching women, and all that kind of stuff, they hate men as much as secular women hate men, maybe even more so. Be not to see Christian women hate men. They are quietly in support with secular women when they come to the man. And men, at some point, you got to say, you know what? I got to stand up for myself. What do I have to lose? I've lost everything. I lost my courage. Once you lose courage, you have nothing else to lose. You're not worth a dime. And this is awful that, I believe women. In the good old days, when boys were boys and men were men, women would tell you not to believe women because they knew the women were lying. But those women of days gone by were honest women as much as possible. And they would say, oh, no, that gal a liar. Don't believe that gal. That gal. And why was she with that man and she didn't want to sleep with him? They knew that responsibility belongs to the individual. And you couldn't blame somebody. Why were you at the party then? Why you dressed like that if you didn't want to be having sex with the man? If you didn't want the man to see you, you notice how, and I asked this with one of the guests yesterday on the Fallen State. I ask, why do women show so much skin now? Everywhere they go, they're nearly naked. Why are they so insecure that they have to always show skin? Tight little skin pants and short dresses and shirts and breasts showing nearly. Why are you so insecure, ladies, that you're always naked? You don't see men be like that. When will you be a lady? You can't do what the men do, lady. You can't do what the men do and still be a lady. Why are women so always... And they everywhere, the older one, the younger one, the Z one, the millennial one, the older one. Everybody naked. It's not unusual now to see a female walking around with skin showing everywhere. It doesn't matter if they're fat or skinny or tall or short or black or white or whatever. They all naked everywhere they go. It's not just going to the beach. Oh, Lord. And going to the beach, they're showing everything. Everything. They have on just enough little piece of thread between the legs to hide the VJ a little bit. And they hide the VJ a little bit. Just enough little piece of string right there, like this is the VJ. And they have a little piece of string going right down there. What a sign of insecurity, and yet they say they're not. Why would you dress like that if you're secure? Everywhere. It doesn't matter if kids are around or anything. They half naked. Mothers be walking their kids down the road half naked. Women, I want to know, why are you so insecure that you're always half naked no matter where you go? You're showing skin, you know. Remember when the decent women used to dress up? They would not just show skin. You would have to get to know them and not be all being just about the body. Those days are gone.